So let's begin here for our vocab practice. Here are our 2 words. Amy, can you read this slide for me, please?
Formidable. Definition: extremely impressive in strength or excellence, inspire fear and respect. Example: the windows from which the light emerged also show Lord Israel's formidable power. Opaque. Adjective. Definition: not transmitting or reflecting light or radiant energy. Impenetrable to sight. Not clearly understood or expressed. Example: his face is hidden completely by behind a dark, opaque helmet, and he wears a fitted suit of black body armor.
All right. Excellent job. So here are our 2 words for today. We got formidable and opaque, both adjectives. Formidable, this is something that is very impressive. You're kind of at the top of the top. You have a certain type of excellence when it comes to whatever skill this is. And it's almost to the point where people are kind of intimidated by it. You're so good at something, you're so excellent at it. It can almost be a little bit intimidating. People can find it like they'll look at you with respect, sometimes even with fear. But for the most part, you are just very good, very strong, very excellent at a certain thing. Over here, opaque. This is a very specific type of word. This is talking about the appearance of something. The definition is talking about like reflecting light, radiant energy, whatever. Try to think of it as this: impenetrable to sight, meaning you can't see through it. So if something is opaque, think of something that you cannot see through. So if you're looking at like a box that is like a cardboard box, for example, it's brown. If it's taped up, you can't see through it. Therefore, the box is opaque. If you want to do an abstract version of the word, you can think of it as a idea that is not clearly understood. So if you can't see through something, you can't understand it, you can describe that as opaque. So 2 different ways you can use it. Most commonly is used as the appearance of something being very, like you can't see through something, like the opposite of glass. Or you can think of it as something that's not clearly understood. 2 different ways that we can go about this. Either way, let's use these 2 words, formidable and opaque, in our paragraph for today. And we're going to be writing a story in which 2 characters must solve a problem without speaking. So try your best to write about this topic right here, and be sure to use both of these vocab words. So let me give you guys the prompt in the chat, and I'll put the definitions on the screen. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. All right, so it has been around 10 minutes so far. So let's try to get our answers submitted as soon as possible. Hopefully we get them within the next minute or two. All right, excellent. So I got one answer here. So I am going to take this up now. And for everybody else that's still writing, please submit so we can take your answers up as well. Charlie, can you start us off? Can you read your answer, please?
One day, Bob and Henry decided to make a challenge. They had to find out what was stealing the carrots in their garden, as the carrots kept on being dug up. However, Bob and Henry could not talk during the challenge. Bob and Henry each had their own strengths. Bob had formidable strength, and Henry was very smart. They decided they would camp out beside the garden and surprise whatever was stealing the carrots. Near midnight, Bob saw a dark, opaque cardboard box near the carrot. Bob signaled for Henry to go behind it. Then, when they were both in position, they jumped on the box. It turned out to be a bunny stealing the carrots and hiding them behind the bush. The Bob and Henry let it go, and they finished the challenge.
All right, so very well done. You did a nice job of sticking to the topic. Now I do want to take up a couple of things, mostly like not necessarily proofreading, but just the content of what you're writing. So one day, Bob and Henry decide to make a challenge. Good job of using the semicolon here. This is correct punctuation. Nicely done. They had to find what was stealing the carrots in their garden, as the carrots kept on being dug up. However, Bob and Henry could not talk during the challenge. All right, so this part right here. Now, obviously, I know the prompt says write a story where two characters must solve a problem without speaking, but it would be a little more creative. It would be a little better if you had written the story without explicitly saying, hey, we're going to make sure that these two characters don't speak. So just a creative choice right there. Writing it the way that you did, not technically wrong. You did a great job. However, try not to make it so obvious. Try not to make it, I don't know, just try to make it a little bit more creative. Try to find a different creative outlet instead of making it exactly what the prompt says. If it says write a story about two characters not speaking, don't say, hey, these two characters are not going to speak to each other. So yeah, let's keep moving. Bob and Henry, make this capital. Each had their own strength. Bob had formidable strength. Let's say formidable physical strength. Formidable used correctly, perfectly, great job. And Henry, so this comma, we actually don't need it. And Henry was very smart. They decided they would camp out beside the garden and surprise whatever was stealing their carrots. Near midnight, yeah, that makes sense. Near midnight, Bob saw a dark, opaque cardboard box near the carrot. So similarly, this example right here with opaque cardboard box, that's the same example that I used when explaining this while talking about the vocab words. So again, try to be a little more creative. Try to have your own different examples and creative decisions when you're writing. So don't try to copy whatever example was said or mentioned in the vocab slide. Think of your own examples as well. So of course, this is used correctly because this is an example. Bob signals for Henry to go behind it. So this right here is perfectly fine. If you're talking about characters signaling to each other, that's an excellent way to say like they're not speaking. You didn't actually have to mention that part of the challenge is them not talking to each other. Then when they were both in position, they jumped on the box. Turned out to be a bunny stealing the carrots and hiding them behind the bush. Bob and Henry let it go, and they finished their challenge. And this comma we don't need. All right, so overall, very well written. There's almost no mistakes that I can change here. We do have another answer. Let's check this out. All right, Sean, can you read your answer, please?
Jaden and Luke were best friends and liked to hang out together all the time in the backyard. Then one day, both Jaden and Luke went to bed after a playful morning in the yard. When it began the next day, Luke woke up ready to play in the yard again, but instead he saw he was surrounded with tall, formidable, overgrown bushes. Luke was confused, who was also as confused as Jaden, who woke up right next to Luke. Both of them started talking, but the only thing that came out their mouths were a swoosh. They tried to get out of the maze, but they were lost. As soon as they lost hope, they saw an opaque, dark bush, which was different from everything else. They rushed in and found themselves out of the maze. They started talking and went back to their house from the maze.
All right, nicely done. And let me just add a period at the end.
I think I did add a period.
It's not in the chat, so let me just put that for you. All right, so Jaden and Luke were best friends and liked to hang out together all the time in the backyard. Then one day, we got to put commas around, or not really around, but comma after the word then and then after the phrase one day, because they're both kind of initializing our time period. So then one day, both Jaden and Luke went to bed after a playful morning in the yard. When it began the next day, so what do we mean by this? When it began, it's kind of confusing. Let's continue reading. Let's see if it makes sense after. Also put a comma here. When it began the next day, Luke woke up ready to play in the yard again, but instead he saw he was surrounded with tall, formidable, overgrown bushes. All right, so we got to change up the phrasing here a little bit. So when it began the next day, so we can just say when the next day began. Luke woke up ready to play in the yard again, but instead, another comma here, he saw, let's just say he saw that he was surrounded. And not surrounded with, but surrounded by. And this phrasing I want to change up a little bit. We can say surrounded by tall, overgrown bushes, formidable in size. All right, so this sentence right here is definitely a little wordy. It makes sense, it's not a run-on, but if you did want to break it down to two sentences, that'd be fine as well. Let's continue. Luke was confused, who was also as Luke was confused. Let's change up the phrasing here. Luke was confused, and Jaden was also as confused. Who was also as confused as Jaden? Okay, let's just say Luke was confused, as well as Jaden, who was just as confused. Luke was confused, as well as Jaden, who was just as confused and waking up right next to Luke. Let's cross this part out too. Both of them started talking, but the only thing that came out of their mouths were a swoosh. So when we're saying swoosh, I guess we mean the sound of a swoosh. Were the sound of a swoosh. And instead of were should be was. So they tried to get out of the maze, but they were lost. Comma right here. As soon as they lost hope, and another comma. So remember, this is initializing a time period, right? We're saying as soon as something happened, that is the time period. Something else happened. So we've got to separate that with a comma. As soon as they lost hope, comma, they saw an opaque, dark bush, which was different from everything else. Good job of using opaque, makes sense. They rushed in and found themselves outside the maze. Outside the maze, they started talking and went back to their house from the maze. So let's just break that off with another sentence. They started talking and went back to their house from the maze. All right, so overall, solid answer right here. Great job of using both words and sticking to the topic. There is a lot of different areas here that need to be improved in terms of how smooth your writing sounds. So please try to be a little bit more attentive about how your writing sounds when it's being read out loud. You can always read it out loud to yourself as well before submitting. And let's check out our next answer. Let's make this black. All right. Amy, can you read your answer, please?
There was two people who was formidable at sign language, but one day they both had sore throats, so if they talked, their throats were hurt. They used sign language to talk to each other, but they still had to buy medicine to stop the sore throats. While they were on their way to the pharmacy, the person found a strange opaque box and he picked it up. When he did, there was a swoosh of wind, and magically the two people could talk again.
All right, so nicely done. We're starting off with these two characters operating in sign language. That's a great way of, indirectly saying that they can't talk to each other. So we got formidable, used correctly, opaque, also used correctly, so very well done. Let's proofread this. So there was two people who was formidable at sign language. Now, we got to change up our verbs here. So was, in both of these instances, they both need to change to were. So there were two people. Because we're dealing with plural, like multiple people, we got to make sure that we're using the right version of our verbs. So there were two people who were formidable at sign language. But one day, they both had sore throats, so if they talk, their throats would hurt. They use sign language to talk to each other, but they still have to buy medicine to stop these sore throats. Let's use a different verb here. Let's say to cure their sore throats. While they were on their way to the pharmacy, one person found a strange opaque box and he picked it up. So this comma we don't need. When he did, there was a swoosh of wind and magically the two people can talk again. All right, so solid job. We can add a little bit more detail as to them having a specific problem and solving that specific problem themselves. This one with the sore throats, that makes sense, it's fine, but the fact that like it just magically fixed itself, we can add some more detail instead of saying it just happened magically. But overall, very solid answer. Also, please try to submit your answer a little sooner. We took probably 10 minutes a little longer than we needed to. So let's try to fix on that next time. Moving on, our next activity is going to be our lesson plan. So we've been working with problem and solution writing style for a little while now, but I do want to practice working on each individual paragraph a little more before we start submitting multi-paragraph answers. So I want to strengthen each paragraph here. For today, we're going to strengthen our solution paragraph. So in this example here, we're going to read the following examples of solution paragraphs, both about the same problem. And I want you guys to analyze each solution paragraph and understand how to write your own strong solution paragraph. So here's the problem. Let's have someone read this problem. Charlie, can you read the problem for us, please?
Problem. Obesity rates are rising among children and teenagers, leading to serious health issues such as diabetes, heart disease, and low self-esteem. Poor eating habits, lack of exercise, and excessive screen time are major contributors to this problem.
All right, nicely done. So this is the problem. Clearly, we're talking about obesity rates are rising, and they're relating it to a couple of different factors. Now let's see how two solution paragraphs address this problem. Sean, can you read this slide for us, please?
Solution A. Parents should tell their kids to eat less junk food and play outside more. If kids stop eating so much unhealthy food, they will lose weight. This should solve the problem. Solution B. To combat rising obesity rates, schools should implement mandatory daily physical activity programs and nutrition education to promote healthier lifestyles. Additionally, communities can create affordable access to sports programs, parks, and recreational facilities, making it easier for children to
facilities. This is facilities.
Facilities. Making it easier for children to stay active. Parents can also encourage healthy eating at home by cooking balanced meals and limited fast food consumption. By creating supportive environments at school, home, and in the community, children can develop long-term healthy habits that prevent obesity and improve overall well-being.
All right, excellent job. Thanks for reading. So let's analyze both of these paragraphs here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can explain the differences between these two solution paragraphs. And I want you guys to identify which one is stronger, explain why, and which one is weaker, explain why. So I will give you guys this question in the chat. Try to get your answers submitted with like around 5 to 6 sentences. There is a decent amount of information that we can add. So be as detailed as you'd like. Provide examples from each paragraph if you want. And yeah, so we're going to be explaining why one is strong and why one is weak, and identify the differences. The paragraphs are on the screen. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. All right, so I see a couple answers here. Let's take these up. And if any more answers come in, feel free to submit. Let's see, I'll put this on another page. All right, so Sean, can you read your answer for us, please?
Solution B is stronger than solution A. I know this because solution B has more information about how it can address the problem, like schools should implement creating affordable sports and more ways to help. Solution B also has more better vocabulary usage, such as implement, recreational falsities, consumption, and much more vocab usage. On the other hand, solution A has less detail and information about how to address the problem. The sentences have less deep dive information in the sentences, meaning that they don't give detail about one specific thing.
All right, so very well done. Great job of first identifying which one's stronger and backing it up to see why it's stronger, and also saying on the other hand why the other one is weaker. So let's take this up. So solution B is stronger than solution A. Perfect. I know this because solution B has more information about how we can address the problem, like schools should implement creating affordable sports and more ways to help. So we started off strong, but this last half of the sentence, we got to change it up. So how we can address the problem, we'll say comma, such as, and then we'll take out the word like, such as schools should implement creating, I think we mean creating, such as schools, I want to say implementing, so we actually don't need the word creating at all. We can just leave it at implementing. And we can take this comma out of there as well. Such as schools implementing affordable sports, not just sports, but sports programs. This part we can just take it out entirely because it's not really adding any detail. We can actually provide some specific details instead of saying this portion. But having this portion here after only explaining one example, it's not really that effective. So we'll just take it out. So the final sentence is going to say, I know this because solution B has more information about how we can address the problem, such as schools implementing affordable sports programs, and that's it, period. Solution B also has more better vocabulary usage. So more and better, it doesn't make sense to have both of those words side by side. So we can say solution B has a more impressive vocabulary usage. Such as implement recreational facilities consumption and much more vocab usage. All right, so although it is correct, solution B uses some advanced vocab. It's probably not the main point that makes solution B stronger. It's correct, but there's other ways we can describe this instead. On the other hand, let's put a comma here. Solution B has less detail and information about how to address the problem. These sentences, so let's make that capital. The sentences have less deep dive information. Sure, makes sense. Sentences have less. We can just change it to simply saying have less depth. The sentences have less depth in the sentences. Yeah, that also, yeah, so I can't really say this part right here. So simply the sentences have less depth, comma, meaning that they don't give more detail about one specific thing. Meaning that they don't give as much detail as about one specific thing. All right, so in terms of explaining why solution B is stronger, you did a great job. You talked about how it has more information and specific details, so that's nice. Now, solution A, you just said it had less detail. So try not to stick to the exact same point. Try to describe another reason why it is weaker. So you can say it has less realistic solutions, something like that. But nicely done. We do have to work on phrasing our answer a little bit better next time. Charlie, can you read your answer for us, please?
Solution B is stronger since it provides multiple reasons that clearly state how to solve the problem. Also, solution B has a stronger conclusion and a strong starting sentence. Solution A is weaker because it only has one reason about how to solve the problem. The starting sentence does not clearly state what the problem is. Also, the conclusion is very weak and does not tell why it solves the problem. Solution B is a stronger paragraph.
All right, so very well done. In our answer here, it looks like we're focusing more on the format of each paragraph, which is totally fine, makes perfect sense. Solution B is stronger since it provides multiple reasons that clearly states how to solve the problem. Excellent point right here. Also, solution B, let's just capitalize this simply because it's the name of our paragraph. It's not really a big issue. Solution B has a stronger conclusion and a stronger starting sentence. So I don't want to refer to it as a starting sentence. Let's call it a topic sentence or introductory sentence. Either one would work fine. Solution A is weaker because it only has one reason about how to solve the problem. The starting sentence, so again, let's change that up here. The topic sentence does not clearly state what the problem is, which is correct. Nicely done. So that's a great point to make. Also, the conclusion is very weak and does not tell why it solves the problem. Again, very true. Solution B is the stronger paragraph. We'll just end off a little stronger here. We can say, therefore, solution B is stronger. All right. Excellent answer right here. If you wanted to talk a bit more about the details included in each paragraph, that would make your answer stronger, but overall, very well done. We got one more answer. Let's check this out. All right, Amy, can you read your answer, please?
The second solution is stronger because it includes solutions that are well explained, also including much useful details and a stronger conclusion. The first paragraph is weaker because it has lack of detailed solutions, explaining, and also very weak conclusions.
All right, so technically you provided a lot of good points here, a lot of accurate points. Let's phrase them a little bit differently though. So the second solution paragraph is stronger because it includes more solutions that are well explained. Nice. Excellent sentence right there. But let's end it off with a period. And let's start this with a capital letter. Also, including much useful detail and a stronger conclusion. Let's say also it includes and let's say much more useful detail. Whoops. All right. And a stronger conclusion. The first paragraph, the first solution paragraph, is weaker because it has lack of detail. Let's say because it has a lack of detail. Solutions and explanations. Make that red, cross this out. And explanations. I'll put another comma here, as well as having a very weak conclusion. All right, so nice point. We can add some examples from the paragraph to back up our statements right here. So we can say, for example, the second solution had better explanation because it said the following, and then we'll add an example of one of the explanations. So overall, well done, just lacking a little bit of detail. We have a couple more minutes left in class. Let's see if we can, that's the same question. Let's see if we can start another exercise right here. So this time, using the information that we know about strong solution paragraph, let's see if we can write our own strong solution paragraph. So we only have a few minutes. If we don't get around to finishing this now, we'll finish it next week. But I want you guys to start. Your topic is about vandalism in neighborhoods. So what can be done to reduce vandalism and damage to public property? So if you don't know what vandalism is, it's kind of just like damaging property or things such as graffiti. Yeah, that's pretty much the main stuff here. So try your best to write your solution paragraph. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so we are at the end of class now. So whatever paragraphs we've began writing so far, if you guys can, you can just keep them with you, and we'll use those same paragraphs for next week. So we'll take up this exact same question next week. Great stuff today so far, though. Excellent participation. I will see you all next week. Take care.